Hello, boys and girls. It's Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast again. Today, I'm going to show you how to make Jell-O Shots because they are the featured drink in today's podcast. All right, I'm going to start with 1 cup boiling water. It's boiling, trust me. To that, we add our 3 ounces of Jell-O gelatin dessert mix. I'm using berry blue. So we're going to whisk that up. I think that looks pretty good. Next, we're going to add half a cup cold water. Then we're going to add our vodka. I am using citrus flavored because why not? We're going to add a half a cup of that as well. Like so. Then we're going to whisk that up, mix that all up. It smells delicious. And once that's mixed, we're going to pour it into containers. Until they're almost full. I'm making a few big Jell-O shots here. I didn't have all the right size containers. And that's fine. So, we've got 7 regular size Jell-O shots and 2 larger ones. We're going to put that in the fridge. Let that chill, and I'll see you in a couple hours. All right, we're back. It's been a few hours. Let's see how we did. Looks like Jell-O. Yeah. pretty good. All there's to do now is to put lids on them and save them for future use. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. See ya.
Sometimes I like to think I am very clever, like this week, when I thought Jell-O Shots would be a perfect companion drink for episode number 29 of the Scary Spirits podcast, The Blob. Unfortunately, we soon discovered that slurping Jell-O while talking about Steve McQueen is not a pleasant listening experience. Greg did his best editing to cover up our loud consumption of Jell-O Shots, but let's be honest here, the blame lies with me and my misguided creativity. Try to enjoy this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, The Blob, a movie too good to be campy and too bad to be good. Cheers.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So if you're ready, let's go.
Hi, I'm Greg,
Hi, I'm Karen.
and welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different but highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I'm okay.
Okay.
All right, Karen, I don't think we have any errors or anything.
Well, we probably do, but
No, I don't think we do.
if you don't think so, then let's just move along.
Yeah, moving on. All right, Karen, I believe this week's film was your choice, was it? Was it not?
It was. I must claim this one.
And what film have you chosen for us this week?
I chose the 1958 classic, The Blob.
1958, you say?
Yes.
I don't remember 1958. I
Me
assume you
neither.
do not either.
Nope.
Why did you choose this film, Karen? Any reason?
Well, it's a classic, and it's featured in a lot of other films, and I've never seen it. So I know it was in Greece in the drive-in movie scene. I just feel like it should be on our list of things that we've seen. Now
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, but when I chose it, that's what I thought anyway. That was my thinking.
I'd never seen it either. As a matter of fact, when I started watching it, I'm like, what the hell? Is this the right one? Is it in color? I didn't even know it was in color. But I guess it is.
It is.
1958. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and you still had to pay for it on Amazon,
Yep.
which I thought was different for such an old film.
Do we have a cocktail, Karen?
We do. I'm interested to see how you did this one on YouTube.
Well, what cocktail have you chosen for me to make on the YouTubes for everyone to watch?
I've chosen the college classic, Jell-O Shots, to go along with the Blob. I
Mm,
thought it was clever.
yeah, I wasn't looking forward to making it, but it's easy. No big deal.
Yeah, it's not difficult. Why do you think it's a college classic? It's cheap, it's quick, and it's easy.
Of course, I didn't have the little 2-ounce solo plastic cups with lids. I had a lot
Neither.
of similar, but
No, I didn't either. I just made it. Mine's a substantial, it's more than a shot. Mine's more like a Jell-O drink.
so I had to use maybe some, I don't know what these are, 4-ounce. I had to use a few 4-ounce containers, I guess. But
Oh, so you have more than one there.
Karen, I have a whole shelf full in my fridge.
Nice. Well, see,
Yeah,
there
I
you go.
didn't see. I don't have to make some for the kids.
Yes, I
You
had
know.
to separate mine out so that there were some that were not the college classic and some that were.
even if I did want to make some for my kids, it'd be fine.
Right. Your kids are allowed to have them.
Yes. Hell, one of
My
them's a
mom
bartender.
used to make them. Yeah. She used to have them when we'd come over to watch football games on Sundays. My mom would sometimes have Jell-O shots.
If you stick to the recipe, there's not much alcohol in them, really.
No, and you can make them ahead of time.
Yeah. I mean, the recipe calls for a half a cup of alcohol. So
Yeah, that's not.
No.
Well, should I tell everyone how to make it?
Oh, yeah. And what are we going to need?
Well, Jell-O and vodka and water.
Now, any Jell-O? Because after investigating some more today or last night, one of the two, we discovered that we have a couple different sizes of Jell-O gelatin boxes.
Well, more shots for you then.
Yeah, but then you have to adjust the recipe if you're using a double box. Like apparently they make double boxes or something. I don't know. Because we had a couple that were twice the size of what the recipe called for.
You're so lucky.
So,
well, okay, true. But this is for a 3-ounce box.
Yes.
This recipe. So, and you can use any flavor.
Yes.
I used cherry because the blob is red. I'm a purist.
I used some kind of berry.
But it's not red, it's blue.
I know, it's berry blue or something, but it's got strawberry and blueberry or something in it. I don't know.
How to make Jell-O shots. 1. Boil 1 cup of water on the stovetop. 2. Pour a 3-ounce box of gelatin mix into a mixing bowl. Pour boiling water over Jell-O and whisk until the Jell-O is completely dissolved. Add vodka and cold water, half cup each, to the mixing bowl. Whisk to combine everything together. You're supposed to have 2-ounce plastic cups on a baking sheet, and then pour the mixture into the plastic shot cups and chill in the fridge until set, about 2 hours. Once set, top with lids for storing and to make them travel friendly. You can serve them as is or top with a swirl of whipped cream on top. I served mine as is.
Accurate. Did you read the part in the recipe about where they suggest what type of vodka to use?
Oh, no, that was in a different part. They say don't use the cheap stuff.
No, they said don't use the top shelf stuff.
I only had one kind, so I used it.
Well, I had just a little bit of Grey Goose left, but I had a whole shitload of citrus infused vodka. So that's what I used. So it's probably added some nice taste to it. And even on the website where you found the recipe, they were saying you can combine lime like flavored vodka with this kind of gelatin. And you can, they had suggestions for flavor mashups.
That's awesome. So if you're having a Halloween party or any type of party, you can mix and match and have different flavors and different types of vodka.
And actually on that site, they had lots of different recipes for Jell-O shots. They even had like Halloween themed ones in there too.
So what was the site? So we should give them credit. I mean, Halloween.
Breadboozebacon.com. Yeah, that's it.
Halloween ones would be awesome, but they wouldn't necessarily go with the blob.
Correct.
But yeah, it's a good site. Check it out.
All right. Should we give everyone a chance to
get their Jell-O shots
ingredients and
sit
make
for
their
2
Jell-O
hours
shots and put them in the fridge for a couple hours? Just hit pause. Shall we?
Yeah. Come back in 2 hours.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right, Karen. Might you have a brief synopsis for The Blob from 1958?
I do.
Please.
Enlighten you.
Us. Yes.
A drive-in favorite, this sci-fi classic follows teenager Steve and his best girl Jane as they try to protect their hometown from a gelatinous alien life form that engulfs everything it touches. The first to discover the substance and live to tell about it, Steve and Jane witness the blob destroying an elderly man and grow to a terrifying size. But no one else has seen the goo, and policeman Dave refuses to believe the kids without proof.
Accurate.
Yep, that's a pretty good one.
Okay, are you ready? Let's get into it.
Let's go.
All right. Yeah, so last night I turned off all the lights and watched it in the dark. because I thought it'd be scary.
Well,
All right.
not to ruin it, but it's not too scary.
So the
Sorry.
movie starts, Karen, and we have credits.
But we have music.
A Groovy's 60s song I wrote. And it does have lyrics that talk about the blob, so it must be called The Blob or something.
It's called Beware of the Blob.
Beware of the Blob.
And it actually charted.
Did it? Interesting. Next, we see a couple kissing.
Kissy face.
Steve McQueen.
And right off the bat, what do you notice?
What do I notice?
That he looks about 30.
Well, he's older. He does look old, but so does she.
They're both way too old to be.
Jane.
They're supposed to be teenagers. I don't know how old they are, but they're a long way from being teenagers.
Yes. And the whole time I was watching it, I was thinking, I know that Jane from somewhere. Where have I seen that Jane girl before?
Where was it?
She was Helen Crump on the Andy Griffith Show.
No, I didn't watch that show.
I think this is twice you've said you've never watched that show or something. Because there was someone else I talked about.
Yeah, maybe a doctor or something. I can't remember.
Yes. Yes, it was. Yeah, she was Helen Crump. Andy ends up marrying her. Whatever.
Oh,
In the end. Well, they did a movie later that says Return to Mayberry. And I don't really remember it, but she's credited as Helen Crump Taylor. So she must have married Andy Taylor. But anyway, if anyone out there has seen that film and has any more information, email us at info@scaryspirits.com.
you mean the Mayberry? Return to Mayberry movie?
Return to Mayberry.
That's our audience for sure. I'm sure they've seen it.
So anyway, Steve McQueen's, and it's very convenient that his character's named Steve as well. So if I can just call him Steve.
Right.
Steve McQueen, Steve. I call him Steve McQueen a lot. So they're seeing shooting stars. And
It's like they're at a makeout point, right?
yeah, I didn't realize they were in a car though at first.
Yeah, they're parked. They're parked, basically.
And then a red ball is what I call it, falls from the sky in the distance. And Steve McQueen fires up his convertible when they go to find it.
Yeah, it's close, so they figure they can find it.
You know what kind of car that is, Karen?
Damn it.
Is that a no?
It's a no.
That is a 1953 Plymouth Cranbrook convertible.
1953, huh?
Plymouth Cranbrook convertible. I won't be saying it much because it's hard to say.
It's a weird name.
It is.
So you think it's named after somebody who designed it or something?
I don't know. But Karen, you have any idea what the MSRP of that car was in 1953?
$1,700.
You're a little low.
$1,900.
No, Karen, it was $2,200.
Ooh, that's a lot.
I guess.
Well, yeah, okay.
So they don't really know what it was named after exactly. But there is a Cranbrook Drive in Detroit. So it could have been named after the road, actually.
But the road could have been named after someone too.
Yeah. And it is a city in British Columbia as well. You know how much you can buy one of those for today, Karen?
No, I don't.
Average retail. You know what the average retail of one of those today?
$8,000.
They went for $2,200 in 1953. Today, on average, what is your answer?
8,000.
Nope. You're closer to the low.
10,000.
The low is 9,200.
Well, I wasn't that far off.
Average is $17,100. Would you like to try for the high retail?
28,000.
Not bad again. $30,200. You're getting better.
I'm getting a little better.
All right. Next,
It's a big car. It's like a boat.
It's not. It's a two-door. It's not
Yeah,
a four-door.
But it's just big. You know, they're not sleek. They're just big.
It's 1953, Karen.
I know, but
So next we see an old man in a shack and his dog is barking, yapping.
yeah, it sounds like a little dog.
Apparently the whatever fell from the sky landed close to his shack. So he takes his lantern out and goes to investigate. I call it an asteroid. from here on out.
Okay.
And he pokes it with a stick and it cracks open.
So if an asteroid landed in your backyard, Greg, would you poke it with a stick?
I might.
I think I might. If I think I might.
I probably would.
Yeah.
And I might hold the stick on it, just to see if the stick started smoking, if it was hot,
Right. No, I can't fault this guy. I was like, I'd probably have done that too.
Yep. Then I'd go get like a crowbar or something, and I'd see if it was magnetic.
I'd get a long stick, though. I would definitely not get close, but
Yeah, but basically it cracks open, whatever it is, the asteroid, and there's a gooey blob inside of it.
pretty much, yeah.
A slime ball. And it attaches itself to the man's hand.
Yeah, it kind of goes up the stick that he's holding and
Yes.
gets on his hand.
And it sounds to be very painful.
Right. He can't get it off.
So Steve and Jane are in the car and they can't find where it landed. So he's, apologizes to Jane for, ruining her evening or whatever, and says, let's go into town. Let me apologize over a sandwich.
Smooth, Steve.
Yeah. So they're driving into town, and on the way, he almost runs over the old man. The old man runs into the road. They stop and they agree to take the old man to the doctor.
Yeah, they load him in the car, the back seat.
Next, we are at the doctor's office / house, and he's getting ready to leave. He's
Yeah,
calling
my pediatrician was in a house. Was yours?
No.
No? Okay.
He calls someone and tells him he's leaving or whatever. Next, Steve McQueen, being in a hurry, passes a car with 3 boys in it.
Yeah, they show the speedometer is going up to 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, and the 3 boys don't like it.
No,
They
they
don't
take
like
it as a
being
challenge.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Steve and Jane arrive at the doctor with the old man and take him in. Doctor gives the old man a shot.
Some pain meds, yeah.
And the doctor asks Steve if he would drive back out where they found the old man and see if there's anyone out there who knows exactly what happened. Steve, being the good kid he is, he agrees. So they go out to the car, and the 3 of other boys that they passed.
Who are also too old to be teenagers.
Well, a couple of them are waiting at Steve's car for him. And they challenge him to a race. And at this point, I didn't think they weren't friends or anything, but found out later they are. They're pretty friendly with each other.
Yeah, they won't let Steve leave. And at this point, I wrote, Steve has very blue eyes. But yeah, they are friendly. They're all friends, but they won't let him leave until he agrees to race them.
Yeah, so I think the one kid says, I could beat this thing and going backwards, talking to Steve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Steve says, all right, he agrees to race them. And he says, just like you said, backwards. So he counts down, 3, 2, 1, they go.
Backwards.
Yep. And they pass a cop as they do. And I think Steve was trying to be slick because he knew there was a stoplight and he timed it just right so that when the other boys went past him, they would be at the light stopped so they couldn't go forward so that he could go about his business. And
yeah, he trapped him there.
Yeah. But the cop traps Steve.
Yeah, the cop pulls up. He's got the single red light on the top of the car.
And, the cop is friendly with Steve. He knows him. It's a small town, 1953, of course. Everyone knows everybody.
They do.
So the cop agrees to let Steve go. Just, he doesn't want to take him to jail or anything.
Well, they're kind of establishing at this point, there's kind of a cool cop and then there's a jerk cop. And this is the cool cop. He realizes they're kids and kids are going to do stupid things and he's not going to hold them responsible for every little thing they do.
Yeah. And the cool cop is kind of like the lieutenant or something. He's like,
he seems like he's in charge.
The cop boss.
Yeah.
So eventually Steve leaves and ends up meeting up with the other boys. And this is where we kind of learn all about the different cops. There's 3 cops and they all know them. And they talk about them. And the other
who's
boys.
Who's a jerk and who's not.
Right. And the other boys agree to go with Steve and Jane to see if they can find anyone who knows what happened to the old man.
But they also mentioned they're going to go to the movies later, right?
To the spook show.
Yes.
think it's a midnight spook show.
I think so too.
Next, we're back at the doctor's office, and the slime has engulfed the old man's entire arm now.
It's bigger for sure.
Yes, so the doctor dials a 4-digit number on his rotary phone.
Yeah, I think he gets the operator.
The first call he makes, he does call the operator, and he tries to call someone else, but there's no answer. Like some doctor in another. I think it's the doctor he's supposed to go to this weekend thing with.
I think so too, but I didn't know that at the time.
No, I didn't either. So then he hangs up and he just dials 4 numbers and gets his assistant or his nurse or whatever the hell she is.
Yeah, and he sees the blob is moving under the blanket.
Yes.
And so he's in a separate room from the old man who is being engulfed by the blob. And he tells, I think her name's Kate.
I think so. But she has to come in.
She has to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he thinks he may have to amputate the old man's arm before it spreads too far. Next, we see Steve, Jane, and the other boys, and they find where the asteroid landed. And they pick it up and throw it to each other. And it's a little
Like
warm.
a hot potato. Yeah.
And they hear the dog barking and decide to go investigate the shack.
I think the dog's like has some beagle in him because he's definitely baying. They bay, they howl kind of.
So they find the dog. They take the dog. Then they all decide to go to the spook show since there's no one there that knows what happened. And they decide to take the dog with them.
They basically just stole this guy's dog,
Right.
which is good because, he's not coming back. But
Yeah, that's what Jane says. We can't leave him out here. He'll starve or whatever. I think she says. Next, the doctor's assistant arrives. And she goes in to take the man's pulse. But he gone, meaning he ain't there no more.
right, he's literally gone. There's nothing there. It's an empty bed.
Yes. All that is left is a big blob. So next, Karen, the doctor tells Kate to reach behind her and grab the trichloroacetic acid. Is that right?
Trichloroacetic acid.
Oh, shit, that was close.
Trichloroacetic acid. Do you want to know what you use that for?
Yeah, I do. Before she throws it on the blob, I want to know what it does.
It's not a very strong acid. People now use it for chemical peels, like facials, to look younger. So you can have younger looking skin.
Yeah.
It's used in tattoo removal.
Oh, yeah.
So it's topical.
Okay.
It'll remove a layer
So it's not
of
the
skin.
special kind of acid that eats flesh and
No,
ligaments and muscle, but not bone.
no.
Okay.
It's also used to treat genital warts. So there you go. That's probably why he had it in there. But yeah, it's not a strong acid. It's not like sulfuric or hydrochloric. It's not going to
Okay.
really do much.
So the doctor tells the nurse to throw it on the blob. Of course,
So they're going to give the blob a facial. Didn't do anything.
no, the acid does nothing to the blob.
Because the blob's already smooth. Doesn't need any new texture of its surface.
So the doctor goes and gets his gun, his double barrel shotgun, Karen. Maybe a 12 gauge. I don't know.
I think it was a 12 gauge.
And by the time the doctor gets back,
I don't know.
Kate's gone.
Well, Kate fell down, which it's all over for you then. But he does shoot it.
He does. And it just takes the impact.
So he runs to another room.
Yes.
Because each time the blob engulfs someone, it gets bigger. So it's growing exponentially at this point.
Right. Next, Steve and Jane arrive back at the doctor's house. I guess they're going to tell them that they couldn't find anybody that knew what happened and to check in on the old man or whatever.
Well, yeah, they're reporting back. They don't have anything to say, but
Right. And Steve checks, but there's no answer at the door. So then he goes to see, well, maybe the doctor took the guy to the hospital or something. We'll see if his car is still there. Walks around the side of the house and he sees the doctor being consumed by the blob through a window, Karen.
he's very upset.
As you would be.
Absolutely.
So Steve goes to the police to tell him that the doctor's been killed. But of course, the cops don't believe Steve.
Yeah, they kind of tease him, but
But
they do
Dave-
go with him.
Dave agrees to go. He says, we need to check it out. Jim's the dick cop, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed on the wall in the police station, there's a calendar. It's July 1957, it says.
Yeah, I saw that too. So now we know when this is taking place.
Yes. So they leave except for the one cop who, I don't know, he's a dispatcher or something. He's the one always on the radio. And he begins playing chess with another cop over the radio.
Yeah.
Gotta have something to do when he's bored, I guess.
Yeah, it shows you nothing really happens in the town.
Right.
This is a big deal.
So the police arrive at the doctor's office and they can't find the doctor, but they discover that one of the rooms is locked from the inside, so they can't get in. Dave tells Jim, the other cop, to go outside, see if the window's open, bust it if you have to, climb into the room and unlock the door. So he does.
And the room's a mess.
Yeah, of course, that room is ransacked. It's a mess.
And the cops think it's all a prank by the teenagers.
Yes. And then along comes Mrs. Potter.
Well, they do see that the gun's been fired. Is it Potter or Porter? I wrote down Porter.
Oh, Porter. I did too.
With her pin curls, and house coat.
So she's like the housekeeper or something?
I guess, yeah.
I don't know. Apparently she lives there in that house.
I couldn't tell if it was in the house or next door.
Okay. But she tells the cops that the doctor was supposed to go away to a conference that weekend. And they say, well, his car's here. And they say, well, she says, well, he usually goes with this other doctor. She shoots down everything they say, basically.
She's giving them a place that the doctor might be, but she scurries around, and contaminates evidence because she can't stand, she must have OCD. She can't stand that things are out of place and she wants to put everything back.
So basically there's no sign of the doctor, no sign of the old man, and no sign of the blob. Next, we're at a car repair shop, Karen. We see a mechanic working under the car with just his legs sticking out. And as soon as this happened, you know it's coming, right?
Yep. You know the blob is on its way.
What's going to happen. The mechanic's talking to another mechanic, and the other mechanic leaves, and the dude under the car just keeps on talking. Yeah. Just keeps on talking.
He's the only one there.
And then the blob gets him.
I said, the raspberry jelly eats the mechanic. So that's what it looked like to me.
Yep. Next, we're back at the police station. And the police have called Steve's and Jane's fathers. And they arrive.
Greg, have you ever had to be picked up at the police station?
Never.
Are you lying?
No. Never had been picked up at a police station. Ever.
You know, it's funny because we've talked about it before a little bit, but I had, and I probably have told you this, but I had an 11 o'clock curfew. I was the oldest daughter in my family, so I had to be home at 11 o'clock. And later, I would tell my mom, I would say, when I would, how when you rib your parents about stuff, and I would say, I was the only one there were 5 of us, I was the only one that had an 11 o'clock curfew. I was the only one who had to be home. It's totally unfair. I was the only one, blah, blah, blah. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, and you're the only one I never had to pick up at the police station. And I had no comeback. Like, how do you argue with that? I'm like, okay. So you never, they never had to come and get you?
Never.
Interesting.
I'm smarter than that.
Because the element you hung out with, I bet.
Yes.
Had to be picked up.
They did, because I wasn't there.
Oh, or you're a fast runner.
No, because I was not there.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to say I haven't sat in a police car before and, talked about things.
Had discussions.
Yes. But I never got taken to the station.
Okay. I'm impressed. I would have lost the house on that one. Sorry.
I'm smarter than that, Karen. I'm telling you.
Okay.
All right. So the parents or the fathers arrive. And apparently Jane's father is the high school principal.
Yeah, and he's not happy that he's picking up his daughter at the police station.
He's worried about his reputation, it seems like.
No dad wants to pick their daughter up at the police station.
Yeah, agreed.
That's why you always call mom. Or your sibling if they're old enough. I've picked them up a few times.
Yeah. So they relay the story of what's been going on. And Steve's father says that Steve is not one in the habit of lying. So he believes him.
He believes it, but he doesn't actually believe the story.
the cops send them home with their parents or fathers, whatever. And just as they're leaving, Steve tells Jane, "Get out of the house as soon as you can and I'll come and meet you." Right?
Yep.
Next, we see Jane sneaking out of her house
Craig, have you ever snuck out of your house?
regularly.
So you didn't need to. Oh, I was going to say, you didn't have a curfew. So why would you have to sneak out of your house?
Regularly.
I actually did too. I used to sneak out, but I shared a room with my sister. Luckily, we lived in a 1-story house and I just had to climb back in the window. But I had to trust that she would not tell on me. And she did not. She threatened sometimes, but she never did. We do find out, though, before that, just briefly at the police station, there's kind of a throwaway line, but the dick cop, his wife was, I think, killed by a teenager on the turnpike.
Yeah, I didn't
or
really
something.
get that.
Yeah, but that's why he hates
He was-
teenagers.
She was hit by a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And there was also a whole other subplot going on about his time in the war.
Yeah, but he resents teenagers because of that. But yeah, Jane's sneaking out of the house, as you do, apparently, because we did.
I mean, she goes right down her, right through the house, down her stairs. But of course, her little brother catches her.
Right.
She looks like she changed clothes too for this
She did.
sneaking out event.
She did. But it's not sneaking out clothes.
No. I think she changed from yellow to blue. Is that what her deal was?
She's still in a skirt and heels and a top. I don't want
Yeah. But her little brother comes out, Danny, and she convinces Danny to go back to bed, tells him that she's going to bring him a puppy if he goes back to bed. So he does. Next, we see Steve sneaking out of his house. And he goes out his window. Yeah,
the more conventional way. Yes. The more conventional
like you did,
sneaking
Karen.
out. Yes.
Just like you, except
Didn't you go out a window?
No, I went out a door.
So you used the Jane method and I used the Steve method.
I was kind of a cross of both, but yeah, more or less. So anyway, Steve gets out, jumps off his little porch over their roof or whatever, and Jane startles him because she's already there waiting on him. And then Steve starts to recount the events of the evening. He's beginning to doubt if he saw what he saw, right?
Right. Exactly. So they need to find proof.
And at one point, right at the end of this scene, when there's a shot of Steve, I start to see smoke coming up from behind his shoulder. I haven't stopped and rewound it. I think he had a cigarette in his hand. So that's what it looked like. You know
Probably.
what I mean?
Yeah. It wasn't like fog. It was smoke.
No, it was smoke. It was real quick though, but it was smoke. I even looked on, the Amazon Prime Video X-ray, and I couldn't find anything about it. I didn't really look too hard, but I definitely saw it. So then they push Steve's convertible out of the garage.
Did you ever push your car out of the garage so it didn't make a sound?
Did not.
I didn't do that either.
But they left the garage door wide open. They didn't put the garage door back down.
Well, that would make too much noise.
Okay. Whatever. And they decide to get the other guys to help. The boys
to look for earlier. Yeah, they're looking for proof. So yeah, they go to the theater and try to find them.
Yeah, so they go to the historic Colonial Theater, Karen. It's still there, by the way. That's why it's called the Historic Colonial Theater. I believe they have something there called Blob Fest yearly.
Well, they probably do.
But anyway, they get to the midnight spook show. And apparently the sign on the Colonial Theater says, "Daughter of Horror, also Bela Lugosi." So I didn't really get that.
They were just kind of throwing stuff up there, I think. Although Daughter of Horror is a 1955 movie. So
yeah, but in the place of the second movie, it says Bela Lugosi, also Bela Lugosi. So I don't know.
So at this point, before I watched the movie, I was like, oh, I'm totally going to get Greg. I was going to say, so how much, Greg, do you think it cost in 1957 to go to a movie? And then they walk out of the movie and they say,
we blew our 80 cents.
Yes.
What's
up? So it's like, dang it. So I could not get you on the price of a ticket.
So the Daughter of Horror, a 1955 American black and white experimental horror film. It has no dialogue. And it was originally called
something with dementia.
Dementia.
Yeah. I think it's a short.
It was later edited and incorporated a voiceover by Ed McMahon before re-releasing it in 1957 under the alternate title Daughter of Horror.
I think that's what they were watching because
Yes.
you can hear someone narrating it. I didn't know it was Ed McMahon.
Yeah, apparently it was. But I don't know why they have Bela Lugosi's name up there, though, still. So, whatever. So, Steve tells the boys once he gets them out there and their dates that he thinks something was in that asteroid they found and it could destroy the whole town. He tells them I already killed the doctor and they decide to go looking for it. We'll give them proof. They need proof. We'll give them proof, right? We'll show them.
Yeah, they're going to help their friend.
Cut back to the police station and Jim comes in, the dick cop, and says that he had stopped at a bar and it was empty, completely empty. TV and everything was still on. Cash was still in the cash register. It was just like everybody disappeared.
It was deserted. Yeah, it's just empty. So we all know what happened there.
Right. He says it was weird. So Dave says, well, we should go investigate. And they're like, no, it's locked. Don't worry about it. Locked it up. So next, the kids go around trying to warn everyone that there is a monster loose, a monster on the prowl, Karen. He's going to destroy this town.
Well, it's got to be pretty big now if it ate everybody in the bar.
So Steve and Jane happen upon the dog, conveniently right outside Steve's father's store, apparently.
She let the dog go earlier, and now it's they found it again.
Yes. And Steve goes to pick up the dog, and as he does, he steps on one of those door opening mats. And the door opens. And Steve's a little shocked and wondering what's going on because
it should
the store should be
locked.
closed. It should be locked. All the lights are out in the store, but the doors aren't locked. And he talks about the janitor or custodian, whatever, is usually in there cleaning up, and then he locks up when he leaves. Or he sometimes stays there, but when he does, he locks up, right?
Yeah, the door shouldn't be open.
So Steve and Jane go in to investigate, and they find the guy's bucket and mop or whatever in a aisle, and
So we know what happened to him
probably.
because he's gone.
And at some point, Jane falls or trips or does something, doesn't she?
I think she sees the blob and then tries to get away and runs into a display.
Yeah. So, but they end up locking themselves into the walk-in freezer with the sides of beef or whatever they are.
Yeah.
But the blob begins coming up under the door.
Yeah, which is weird in a freezer because there wouldn't be space because you'd be letting out the cold air.
Well,
It should have suction.
They might have been not have been that worried about that in 1958, Karen.
Well, I would want my meat frozen in 1958.
And we still hear the dog barking out in the store.
Yeah, so the blob is slowly coming underneath the door.
But then it starts to go back, retreating.
Well, Jane starts losing it. As you know, they're in the freezer. They have nowhere to go. But
and Steve gives her his jacket, so she'll be warm.
yeah, he was a gentleman. But the blob recedes back under the door.
Yes.
Because the dog is barking. So I thought the blob was redirecting and going back towards the dog.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because the dog stops barking.
Right. And I thought the dog had been eaten by the blob.
So Steve and Jane leave the walk-in freezer and they run out of the store and meet up with the other kids. And one of them says they just passed the old man's little dog running down the street.
Yay.
But Steve thinks that the blob is still inside the store. So he convinces one of the other boys to call the police station because he can't, because he's supposed to be home with his parents.
Right.
And of course, the cop, Jim, the dick cop, doesn't believe this boy
Well,
either.
they call from a payphone.
Yes.
And how much was it?
I don't remember.
10 cents. They need a dime to call.
That seems high. You know?
I think they started off at a dime, didn't they?
I don't know. I was thinking it ought to be a nickel.
I don't know. He asks for 10 cents. He asks for a dime.
Okay. So the kids decide to take matters into their own hands, Karen.
They have to warn everyone.
And they're going to warn that town. They're going to wake up the town to what's going on. So they start honking their horns. We even hear an air raid siren.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out how did they get a hold of an air raid siren? Like, how did they make that happen? And a fire alarm.
Yes, and a fire alarm. So basically, the whole town gathers at the store, and Steve tries to calm them down and tell them to listen to him and he's going to tell them what's going on. He tells them they're in great danger. The town is in danger. Danger, danger.
Yeah, Steve's trying to take charge, but nobody believes him because he's a teenager.
Yes. Jim, the cop, arrives, and of course he doesn't believe him. But then Dave arrives, and Steve convinces the cop, Dave, that there's really something going on. So Dave does to everyone, this is an emergency, but you need to go home. We will be in touch with you through the radio station.
Right. Go home and stay there.
Yeah. And listen to the radio station.
Yes.
Next, we're back at the Colonial Theater, and we're in the projector room, and we see the Blob pushing through the air vent.
Yeah, the guy's sitting in the, I wonder what his job title is.
Cameraman.
Well, but he's not filming anything. He's just putting the reels on.
Projection.
It's not important.
He's
projection
the projection
engineer.
Technician.
Or engineer.
Yes. Yeah. He has to be there to flip the reel when he sees the flashing light on the film. And he misses it because the Blob attacks him. And the film doesn't change to its next reel. And so that's when all the kids get pissed off and start groaning and whatever. And then we cut back to the store.
Well, the Blob starts to
go into the projection room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we cut back to the store, and Jim, the dick cop, was in there, and he says there's nothing in there. Next, we see people running and screaming out of the theater, Karen. A lot of people running down the road and out of the theater.
Some people multiple times.
A lot more than the theater will hold, I think, is what I wrote.
It's like they replayed it a couple times because you can see a couple people more than once.
I didn't notice that, but
yeah. But they're in a panic, as you would, because the Blob's coming after them.
Right. Then the Blob comes out of the theater.
It's huge.
Right. And Jane's little brother, Danny, I don't know what the hell he's doing out there, but he's out there with his cat gun, and he's trying to shoot it in his footed pajamas.
He's trying to protect Jane.
I know.
But yes, he's in his footy pajamas with a cap gun. And of course, what does he do? He doesn't run.
He runs into the diner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they're yelling at him to come to them, he runs into the diner.
So they run into the diner too, right?
Right.
Steve and Jane. And the Blob surrounds it.
It completely covers the diner.
Yeah, I don't know what's
Which is
special
like
about the diner, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't know either.
So the cop calls the operator and says, "Get me a line into the diner." And he calls in there and he tells Steve they're going to try dropping a power line on the Blob.
Well, they see the Blob is surrounding the diner and everybody runs to the cellar.
Well, he tells them to go to the cellar because he's going to drop a power line on it. That's what the cop tells him to do.
But it's a trailer.
That's what it looks like. I agree. But apparently it has a cellar.
Well, that made no sense to me, but they're in the cellar.
They're in the basement of this diner. And they get Jim, right? And this has something to do with his war record, I'm sure.
I agree. Yeah.
Like he blew something when he was in the war. Like he was supposed to shoot something, or he was a sniper or something, and he didn't make the shot. I'm sure that's his history. You know what I mean? That's the feeling I get. Because he doesn't seem real sure of himself.
And don't miss. I don't know why you couldn't shoot it again if you missed, but whatever.
That's true. It's true. But all the kids with their cars, the fire department all come with their headlights on the power line so he can see it on the telephone pole there or whatever. So Jim shoots and hits the power line. It breaks and falls, the live power line.
Onto the Blob, yes.
And it does like electrocute it, but it does not harm the Blob at all. It didn't seem like.
Nope.
And that catches the diner on fire, Karen.
Yeah. And the Blob starts coming into the basement. So I just wrote, looks bad for Steve and Jane.
Yep.
Everyone is going to die.
Yep. Here's what I wrote. Steve picks up Danny and tries to console him. Everyone is sad.
Well, see, I just said everyone's going to die. But okay.
I mean, even they were showing everyone, even the people outside the diner,
right.
And everyone was sad.
Very sad, yes.
So they start trying to put out the fire with the fire extinguisher, and they discover, much like in the walk-in freezer, Karen, that the Blob does not like cold temperatures. So they need CO2 fire extinguishers.
Yep. So Steve yells that into the phone so that the cop outside
From the
can hear it.
basement.
Yep.
I guess the phone is still off the hook upstairs.
But it's on fire and but he can still hear him.
Right. Well, I'm sure the blob surrounding the diner kind of improves the acoustics, maybe. It traps the sound inside.
Yeah, there you go. Sound dampening so that you can hear him screaming to get all the CO2 extinguishers they can find.
Right. So they all go to collect CO2 fire extinguishers. And Jane's father, the principal, says, "Oh, I know where there's 20 of them. If we could only find someone to get them." And
So all the kids go to the
delinquent
school.
boys say, "Right, here we are. Here we are. We're ready."
We'll break into the school.
Well, they don't, though. They
Yeah, they
get
do.
there. No, they get
And he
there.
can't find
He forgot his
key.
damn keys. The principal forgot his keys.
Right. So they break in.
So the principal takes a rock and breaks the window and lets them in. Interesting. I might have something to say about that later. So then the kids come back with lots of cool cars and fire extinguishers. I wrote.
I just wrote, kids save the day.
1950s hot rods and fire extinguishers. And they shoot the blob with the fire extinguishers and they get the blob away from the diner. Jane and Danny and everyone and Steve come out of the cellar through a window.
Yeah, because when they blast the blob, it gets much smaller.
And the cop is, I guess, on the phone to Washington, federal government or something. And he says, if you could only get a plane big enough to lift this thing up and drop it in the Arctic where it would never thaw out. So next thing we see is something parachuting down into the Arctic. And we assume it's a container containing the blob, right?
Yeah, they don't bury it or anything. They just drop it in the Arctic.
Yeah. And then it says, "The end?" ?
It's foreshadowing for global warming.
I don't know.
Sequel. I don't think there was a sequel, but I don't know.
All right, Karen, what'd you think of the blob? Anything you really enjoyed?
I was disappointed in this movie.
Were you?
I thought, it was going to be so much better than it was. Okay. What I was impressed with, the miniature sets, I thought were good, where the blob is coming into certain rooms and things.
Okay.
I mean,
I agree, because they did a fairly good job of matching their miniature models to the actual interiors.
I agree. I think that, that was probably what I was most impressed by. I don't know what I expected, but I was just disappointed. A blob is not scary. I just didn't find it. I'm sure if it was happening to you, it would be terrifying. But watching it on TV, it's just not scary. And you don't need blood and gore to be scary. It's not that. It just was silly, kind of. And from what I had read before I picked it, this stands apart from B-movie horror films and blah, blah. I didn't really think it did. Did you? I'm glad I've seen it, but I don't think I would watch it again for any reason. I mean, Steve McQueen, he's okay, but he's just way too old to be a teenager.
He is the king of cool, though.
Yeah, he must become the king of cool later.
And this began his relationship with cars. That's what I put on one website. He's always associated with cars,
Oh, okay.
He raced cars. He was a race car driver in his spare time.
I did not like him. I thought the acting was fine. Good even. He just wasn't believable as being a kid. So when he's talking to the crowd or in the police station he just didn't look, he looked like an adult, like you should believe him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't crazy adults that you wouldn't believe, but the whole premise was it's a bunch of kids and so no one believes them.
Right. So Steve McQueen was born in 1930.
And this was 57. So he was
57.
He was 27 years. Yeah, you can't be 30 and look 17.
I wasn't very impressed with the paintings at the end, though, when the blob was over top of the diner. That was kind of a painting.
Yeah, but for the time, it was covering the diner. I don't know. I had higher expectations than I should have had. going into it, I think. I'm glad I've seen it, but I don't think I'd watch it again.
So anything you were really disappointed in?
Well, I think I covered it, right?
Yeah, probably.
Steve McQueen's age, probably everybody's age that was supposed to be a teenager didn't look like a teenager. I didn't think the special effects were terrible considering it was a blob. I think they did a good job with that, but I just didn't find a blob scary. I think maybe what I did was confuse this with the fog,
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I thought I don't know why I would have thought that the blob would be scary, but
Okay.
I think I mixed those two up in my head and was thinking it was going to be a scarier movie, and it's not.
Yeah.
At least I didn't think it was.
I'm pretty sure I could outrun the Blob if I needed
Right.
to.
I mean, I guess the whole point is it only needs to touch a tiny bit of you and you're goner. So if you're not paying attention, like the mechanic underneath the car, you're going to be eaten. But the bar, how did it eat everyone in the bar with no one getting out to say, hey, there's a big ass blob in the bar, especially when you see everyone coming out of the theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just seems strange.
All right. What kind of cocktail rating do you want to give it? Are you
I'd
ready
give
to
it a
give it a
4.
rating?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.
Well, what I thought was interesting, one thing I thought was interesting was the first thing that popped up on the X-ray was about the guy who produced it. I guess he's a producer. No, he directed it. He did this film, and then the whole rest of his career, he was doing like Christian films.
Does this have a Christian theme that I didn't know?
Well, he says it did. He said there are lots of Christian themes to this story.
I did not notice
Or some shit like that. That's why I thought maybe like the principal busted in instead of the kids might have. I don't know.
Make them less delinquent.
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything like that, but that's not surprising.
So aside from this movie, he only worked on Christian films. He felt that there was an uplifting message for teenagers in the Blob. That's
Does he
the
say what
X-ray
it
said.
is?
That's all it says on the X-ray.
Doesn't tell you what the uplifting message is.
No,
Well, I don't know what the uplifting message could be.
I
That
don't either.
eventually adults will believe you if you keep
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
keep at it and provide actual proof. I don't know.
And you can work together.
Okay.
I don't know. Steve McQueen got $3,000 for this movie.
Is it his first? But it's his first movie, right?
He got 28. He was 28. And he turned down an offer of a smaller upfront fee in return for 10% of the profits. You could have had 10%.
Which would probably be a lot.
Yeah, but he didn't think it'd make any money.
I'm with Steve. I would have probably thought the same.
Ended up a hit, grossed over
Yeah.
$4 million.
That's why I wanted to see it. But
Well, the song "The Blob" was written by Burt Bacharach and Mac David. Became a nationwide hit in the U.S.
oh, is it just called The Blob?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I was wrong then. I called it Beware the Blob.
All right, what'd you think of these Jell-O shots, Karen?
I like a nice Jell-O shot.
Yeah, all right.
I think they're more fun in a group. It's just something odd about doing Jell-O shots by yourself.
I thought they were supposed to like slide out of the container like a.
Some of them do.
You know, like
I think
slurp 'em.
if they're in the right kind of container, they do.
Hmm.
Or maybe they just get warm and melty at some point and they slide out.
I don't know. They're all right. I think mine's interesting. It's got
Got your citrus in there.
the citrus with the berry. Seems like the warmer they get, the more I can taste the alcohol though too.
Yeah.
Anything we learned today, Karen?
Well, we learned Steve McQueen is associated with cars.
Yes.
And whatever that damn car was,
Yeah,
I don't know the price of.
1953 Plymouth Cranbrook convertible.
And how much did it cost to go to a movie in 1957?
80 cents
Yeah.
to the Midnight Spook show. 80 cents.
We learned that you've never been picked up at the police station.
Correct. You either. We were such
Yeah, but-
good kids.
But who do you think most people would find it more surprising?
I don't know.
Maybe we should take a poll.
Well, I don't know.
I know what my kid's going to say when we're listening in the car. Greg.
That's because you're an old fuddy-duddy.
I am. Especially to my
Exactly. That's my point.
youngest child. He does not appreciate the coolness that is his mom. Poor kid.
All right, Karen. Are we ready to talk about next week's feature presentation?
Yeah. What do you got?
Oh, it's my choice.
Yes,
It's my turn.
it is.
All right, Karen. Next week, we are going to watch the 1957 film, The Curse of Frankenstein.
Is that Hammer?
Yes,
Okay.
starring Sir Christopher Lee. As
Oh
the
my
monster.
God. You have a man crush on that guy.
Yes. I have a drink, Karen.
All right, wait. So it's The Curse of Frankenstein.
The Curse of Frankenstein. It is available on Amazon Prime
Okay.
for $2.99.
Okay. And what's your drink?
The drink I have chosen is called Dr. Frankenstein.
Nice. Is it green?
Yes, I would say it is.
So it has Midori in it?
Well, maybe it's not. No, I don't think it is.
All right.
Never mind. I don't think
What
it's
do you
green.
need to make this wonderful drink that you have selected?
Well, Karen, we're going to need 2 ounces of bourbon.
Yay.
I knew you'd like that. 3/4 ounce lemon juice
Okay.
from, again, the plastic lemon.
Or not.
1/2 ounce of grenadine and 1 teaspoon absinthe.
That's all alcohol. There's no mixer in there.
There's lemon juice.
1/2 ounce.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm not going to be able to drink that one. Ooh, that's going to burn.
It's 2 ounce. It's a shot of bourbon, basically.
Yeah, with a little flavoring.
I did find there were lots of shots for this movie. I found like I could have used.
Interesting.
I tried not to, so I thought this one would be better.
I wonder why.
But there
it's
are
called-
lots of variations of this drink, apparently. According to this website, you can substitute, if you use scotch instead of bourbon, you can call it a Dr. Jekyll.
So why is it called a Dr. Frankenstein? Because
I
it
don't know.
shocks you or something?
Don't know.
It is called a Dr. Frankenstein.
It is called Dr. Frankenstein.
Okay.
You put it into a chilled coupe glass.
Okay.
Shake with ice and strain into a chilled glass. So no ice cubes, Karen.
Ugh.
So that's next week's.
Okay. Well, that sounds fun.
Yep.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
I haven't. But
You
it
haven't-
stars all our Hammer favorites.
You haven't seen a Sir Christopher Lee movie?
There's a lot of them I'm sure I haven't seen. That's why we're doing this.
Apparently it is.
All right. Anything else, Karen?
I don't think so.
Do you want to thank anybody?
Well, let's thank everyone who's downloaded our podcast. Because what number did we just pass, Greg?
Total?
Yeah.
Well, by the time this airs, we'll probably be over 1,200.
Ooh, a bold prediction.
I'm calling it.
I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to download and listen. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome for me. I think that's amazing. I'm proud of that number.
So if you have any suggestions, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. If you would like to tell Karen how delightful she is, you can email her at Karen@scaryspirits.com.
Yeah, I'm definitely still waiting for that. And if you'd like to yell at Greg, you can email him at greg@scaryspirits.com.
Correct. I love getting mail.
Even if it's people yelling at you,
Yeah, it's fine.
there's
Right.
no bad publicity.
I also need to thank Verse 13 for letting us use their music in the podcast. All their
Absolutely.
info is linked in the show notes.
Thank you, verse 13.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. Want to keep in touch? Check out our website, scaryspirits.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. Find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. To help us grow the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really do appreciate your support. And as always, please drink responsibly.